ever wondered what makes a movie feel truly epic? I mean, yeah, the explosions are cool, but that's not the whole story. Today, we're diving into the mind of a guy who literally scores the impossible, Hans Zimmer.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're glued to the screen, your heart is pounding during some crazy chasing. But have you ever stopped to think why? It's not just what you're seeing, it's the music. And it's being used to basically hack your brain.
And yeah, there's a really good chance this guy, Hans Zimmer, is the mastermind pulling the strings. He's using sound to tap right into your emotions. So how on earth does he do it? Well, let's get into it.
Okay, first up, the unlikely maestro. We're going to look at his origin story, and trust me, it is not what you'd expect from one of the most famous composers on the entire planet.
So most big-time composers, they go to these super fancy music schools, learn all about traditional orchestras, and follow all the old school rules. Hans Zimmer? Nah. His path was totally different. He got to start playing in rock bands, surrounded by keyboards and synthesizers. He wasn't learning the rules, he was getting ready to break them.
So back in the late 70s, he was all about that electronic sound. Then, in the 80s, he moved to London to figure out this whole film scoring thing. And he had this one huge goal, to smash those two worlds together. He wanted to take the epic power of a real orchestra and fuse it with the wild new sounds of electronic tech. So how did that totally unique background actually shape his music? Let's find out. Welcome to Section 2, Inside the Sound Factory. We're going to pop the hood on his process and figure out what makes a Zimmer score sound so, well, so Zimmer. Okay, at the heart of it all is this machine, the synthesizer. You gotta think of it as his secret weapon. An orchestra has violins and cellos, sure, but a synthesizer can create any sound you can imagine. We're talking deep, rumbling bass that physically shakes the movie theater, or weird, creepy textures that sound like they're from another dimension. It's literally his special effects department for sound. So, how does he build one of those massive tracks? Honestly, it's kind of like building something in Minecraft. First, he lays down the foundation, the raw power of a full orchestra. Then he adds the texture, layering all these cool, unique electronic sounds on top, like different kinds of blocks. And finally, he flips the switch on the engine, a powerful driving rhythm that pushes the whole thing forward. And that engine he uses? A lot of the time, it's a technique called an ostinato. It's just a fancy word for a short, repeating musical pattern. The perfect way to think about it is from gaming. You know that background music that just loops and gets faster and more intense the closer you get to the final boss? That is an ostinato. And man, does it create tension and energy.
Which brings us right to our next section, the science of emotion. Because Zimmer's not just making cool noises, he's using those sounds very deliberately to mess with your feelings and pull you deeper into the movie.
This shows one of his absolute best tricks for building tension. He'll often start with almost total silence. Then he'll bring in this one long single note that just gets louder and louder and louder until, bam, it explodes in this huge epic climax. It builds his pressure that feels totally inescapable. Now, you might think his music is super complicated, but one of his biggest secrets is actually minimalism. The idea is simple. Less is more. It's kind of like a good meme, you know? The simpler it is, the more powerful it can be. By using just a few repeating notes, the music supports the scene without getting in the way. That means when the big, loud, emotional part does hit, it feels absolutely massive. And this brings us to one of his most powerful tools, themes. A theme is basically a character's signature tune. It's their personal anthem, like a superhero's theme song, right? Zimmer creates these super memorable melodies that actually grow and change right along with the character. So a theme that starts out quiet and nervous at the beginning of the movie might become this giant heroic anthem by the end. But here's something you probably didn't know. He is not doing this all by himself, not even close. Which brings us to Section 4, music as a team sport. Zimmer basically works like the captain of a pro gaming team or like the head of a music creator house. He started this company called Remote Control Productions, and it's pretty much a creative lab where a ton of composers can work together, bounce ideas off each other, and just experiment. He brings in these incredible musicians from all over the world to play unique instruments. This whole team setup lets him take on these gigantic movie projects. And what's really cool is he also gets to mentor the next generation of composers. And his creativity doesn't stop there. He is famous for his wild recording techniques.
I'm talking about stuff like sticking microphones right inside a piano to get this really weird, intense sound, or using surround sound in a way that makes you feel like you're literally sitting in the middle of the orchestra. He is always on the hunt for sounds that nobody has ever heard before.
So, what does all this add up to? Let's take a look at his legacy in our final section, the Zimmer effect. We're going to see how one guy completely changed the way movies sound. Forever.
This right here is the biggest idea of all. Hans Zimmer didn't just write some background music for movies. He designed a whole new audio language for how modern blockbusters are supposed to sound and feel.
Seriously, if you look at the DNA of pretty much any modern action or sci-fi movie score, his fingerprints are all over it. That deep, heavy bass and driving rhythm, the mix of synthesizers and a classic orchestra, those super powerful but really simple themes, that's the formula. He perfected it, and now it's basically the gold standard.
And the amount of work he's done is just insane. He's composed the music for over 100 films, winning a ton of awards and changing the game for an entire industry. His sound, it's just everywhere.
So if you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this: by being brave enough to break the rules and by blending new technology with old traditions, a single person can literally change the sound of storytelling for the entire world. So next time you're watching a movie, do me a favor. Close your eyes for just a second during a big scene and just listen. Ask yourself, what's the secret weapon here? And I'm willing to bet you'll hear the echo of Hans Zimmer. Thanks for watching.